So at a high level, it's important because our codes and standards are required to involve a consensus process, and that consensus is because of everybody that participates in it. We draw on the subject matter expertise across the industry, and one of the things that we think is important to the ICC codes process as well as our standards process, and that we pride ourselves on, is the fact that we include everybody across industry, whether it's the industry partners that we have in manufacturing, whether it's the folks that are involved from the AEC industry itself, or also the government officials that are looking at the installations and certifying that in their jurisdictions.
I would add to that too is technology advances all the time. There's always new and improved methods of doing construction. Well, if you don't get those into the codes, you're basically, if you're an engineer, a contractor, or a manufacturer, then you're forced to get a variance every time you want to implement a new technology or a new method of construction into a new project. So I would say that. And then plus, with code development cycle, what's really important is that with every cycle comes the correlation between standards and codes. And it's important that the latest and greatest standards are included in the codes to sustain life and safety, basically safeguard life and safety and protect public health. And so it's very important that through that code development process for other SDOs to get involved with the code development process to make sure the latest and greatest standards, whether it's a product standard or an installation standard, gets included in the next code cycle.
Our codes are basically based on a continuous process improvement, and without people participating, that's not going to happen. So We're always trying to get more and more people involved in that process to make them as good as we can. So there's a couple of changes that we're making, but some of probably the biggest changes that we want to highlight are the fact that before we used to have a separate public comment hearing and an online government voting process with each of our code groups. And we're going to combine those. So in the 3-year process, we're still going to have a 3-year process, but in the 3rd year, we're going to combine the public comment hearing and the online government voting from both Group A and Group B. What that allows us to do is it facilitates us introducing another code action hearing in the particular year that the groups are occurring. And what that does is it allows us to take advantage of the subject matter expertise that are on our code development committees, and it also facilitates a process for those people that are proposing codes to work with the proponents and the opponents so that they can work together and come up with a clean, concise, and better code so that we can have the best safety code available.
I don't know how much better I can cover it than Russ, but I will say, coming from the manufacturers as I did, one of the things that was very concerning is as you're developing industry standards, it takes time to develop those standards. And in the previous ICC code development process, it was a very short time to get the proposal in and get it finalized all in a single year. With the new process, there is more time now to allow for the standards to be finalized and developed so that they get into the codes.
And part of that is, this is based on industry coming back to us and telling us how they would like to see the code process improved to make it better. And so we have an industry advisory council that proposed this. We developed a long-term code development committee that worked through the details of it. And this really goes back to why it's important to get involved. It's not a static process. It's one that we continually try and improve. And if you get involved in the process, you can help influence and help us make it better.
The codes, you have the basic provisions of backflow prevention safety. And we talk about scalding protection, stuff like that. But I think when I think of the codes, what's important is they call out, they require safe materials to be used. We talk about plumbing piping, plumbing fixtures being lead-free, for example. As far as installation and ways that we install piping, for instance, and plumbing network, it also helps mitigate the risk of waterborne disease if done in accordance with the code. This is stuff where the code really comes into play with protecting our water quality. And then again, standards, referencing the appropriate standards like NSF 61, NSF 372, that assure the proper products are used. All of that together, working together, both codes and standards, assures high level water quality.